Thank you for coming in for our next session with my friend Ken Gerhard. I said yesterday, Ken has been with us a couple of times in the past. I'm always happy to have him back. He is, in my opinion, the go-to guy. But I want to read you this real quick because it covers it a lot better than I can do it. Ken is a widely recognized cryptozoologist, author, and lecturer who frequently appears on television. So you see him a lot, I'm sure, if you watch the shows. He's traveled the world searching for evidence of mysterious creatures, including Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Chupacabra, Mothman, and the Beast of Gebedon. In addition, he's written 6 books on the subject of the unknown animals. His research has been featured on numerous TV shows, including Missing in Alaska, Monster Quest, Ancient Aliens, America Unearthed, The Unexplained, and Legend Hunters. He's also appeared on networks including Travel Channel, Science, National Geographic, and Animal Planet, and he's currently seen on the History Channel series, The Proof is Out There. So I'm going to introduce you to Ken for his cryptid cage match. As soon as you send me that,
Thank you, Troy. One of my very favorite paranormal investigators. Great person, and it's an honor to be back here at the Haunted America Conference. I'm going to be talking about a couple of my favorite cryptids today. I always like to begin my presentations with a bit of a disclaimer. So what I'm going to say is that I'm an extremely open-minded person. I have many friends who are paranormal investigators. I've experienced a couple of things I consider to be paranormal. I have friends who are UFO investigators. I've seen a UFO. That said, I tend to approach mysterious phenomenon from a very scientific perspective, and therefore, for me personally, it's always based on evidence, data, plausible explanations, and so forth. So I'm not a spiritual person per se. I do not use words like belief, and so hopefully I won't offend anyone's sensibilities. It's okay for us to disagree on different things, but I will ask you to refrain from throwing rotten vegetables until the end of my presentation. So yeah, this is a bit of a cage match, I guess. Nessie versus Bigfoot. My 2 most recent books are The Essential Guide to Bigfoot and The Essential Guide to the Loch Ness Monster. I do have a few copies still available if you guys are interested. So I guess in terms of what we're going to be doing today in terms of competition, if you will, we all love competition, right? I'm going to leave it up to you guys as my audience. I was recently called the lawyer of cryptozoology, and which is kind of funny because my sister's a lawyer, and I guess I never realized, but you guys are the jury, and I'm going to present arguments for both the potential existence of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, to our favorite cryptids, and I will leave it up to you to decide which one you think is more likely to exist. First, I want to address something local, because I imagine we got some folks here from the Alton area, and you guys have your very own cryptid, which you could be proud of, known as the Piasaw bird in cryptozoological literature. Again, to reintroduce myself, I am Ken Gerhard, professional killjoy. So what I'm going to do today is, unfortunately, I'm going to peel some layers back, and we're going to just take a quick look at this. This is obviously the newest version of a pictograph that's on a stony bluff here in Alton. You can go, I looked at it the last time I was here. Now, when you hear the name Thunderbird, you may think of a classic 70s sports car. You may think of a fine wine. But actually, the name comes from many Native American legends and traditions. All over North America, we have traditions of monster birds, thunder beings, or thunderbirds. So first we're going to talk about, we talked about the horned serpents, the giant aquatic serpentine animals of North America. Perhaps that would be a good segue to talk about the most famous aquatic denizen, lake monster in the world, of course, the Loch Ness Monster now. Loch Ness is a weird lake. There's a lot of strange currents, floating debris. Something called a seiche, which is a wave effect, is common, where 2 rolling waves will come onto each other and create like rolling, undulating things on the surface of the water. There's a lot of optical illusions, particularly during the summer when you have mirages and things. So the eyes can play tricks on you on Loch Ness. So no doubt some percentage of the sightings of the Loch Ness Monster are probably due to optical illusions, floating debris, and things like that. There are still about 10 sightings of the Loch Ness Monster every year, even now. So it's not something that ended way back. It's an ongoing phenomenon. So that's one thing we need to clarify. This is the most famous image of the Loch Ness Monster. All of you have probably seen this in various books and TV shows. I'm currently on a series called The Proof is Out There on the History Channel, where we review different videos and films, and there is a couple of recent videos and films from Loch Ness that I don't have on this presentation that are intriguing, at least, and seem to show a very large animal or animate object in Loch Ness. So, think about everything I talked about, the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie, could it exist, pros and cons. Now let's go on to his arch nemesis here, the Bigfoot of the Sasquatch. Now, Tibet. This is one example of a North American sightings map. There are over 6,000 documented sightings of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. This is probably only scratching the surface because most people don't want to come out and talk about their Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings. Inevitably, at every conference that I'm at, people will come up and say, "Uh-oh, I didn't do that, I promise." Will say that they've had a Bigfoot or Sasquatch sighting, and this is where now isn't it interesting here that a lot of these concentrations, of course the heaviest concentration is in the coastal ranges of the Pacific Northwest, a lot of sightings in Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, throughout the Midwest here, we have some in Illinois, Missouri. If you've studied thousands of Bigfoot accounts and sightings like I have, and you've interviewed hundreds of eyewitnesses, it's remarkable how consistent the descriptions are. If people were making up monster stories, wouldn't there be a wider variation? The most famous photographic evidence, of course, is the Patterson-Gimlin film from October 20th, 1967, shot exactly 1 week after I was born, by the way. I've been to the film site last year. It looks radically different now. This is a controversial thing. A lot of people think it was a man in a suit, although scientific analysis has indicated that the subject is probably 7 foot 3 inches tall. There are only 3,000 people in the world right now that are over 7 feet tall out of 8 billion people, so it's very rare, so it's unlikely it's a man in a suit. It has a walk or a gait that is untypical of man. It's similar. It does use cross-limb coordination, but its legs are more bent. It has this has all been studied. If you guys watch your Bigfoot shows, you've probably seen my colleague Dr. Jeff Meldrum and others talk about the way Bigfoot walks. I'm convinced it's authentic, but there are still skeptics. What is Bigfoot if it exists? Well, we don't really know. Here I am with a reconstruction of a species known as Gigantopithecus. You guys have probably heard of that. It was a giant ape that lived in China during the Miocene, up until about 100,000, 300,000 years ago. It was huge. Based on all we have on Gigantopithecus are 4 mandibles or jaw bones and 1,300 teeth. But based on reconstructions based around those mandibles and teeth, it is believed that Gigantopithecus may have stood about 10 feet tall. So the theory is that some of these, if they had survived beyond their presumed extinction date 1 million years ago, and if they had made it out of Africa, across Asia, and then migrated across the land bridge that once connected Asia and North America, that Sasquatch could have been some of these Paranthropus species, surviving hominins, relict hominins, and that they may have gotten much bigger. And we have evidence that during the Pleistocene, the Ice Age here in North America, there were a lot of animals that got a lot bigger and hairier, right? There were woolly mammoths and woolly rhinos, and we had beavers as big as bears and bears as big as cars. This is because when it was very cold out, in order to survive, a lot of animals gained more mass. This is known as Bergmann's rule. It allows mammals to retain more body heat and control to thermoregulate better. So maybe Sasquatch, if it exists, is a Paranthropus, surviving Paranthropus that made it from Africa into North America and got bigger. But the main thing to consider, and this is very important, I think, is that things that looked like Bigfoot did exist. We know scientifically from fossil record they did exist. I do not advocate a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs. I know a lot of people like to ask, that's the most popular question that I get asked. And I'm just going to summarize this briefly. In my 45 years of research, doing field work all over North America, working with all the leading investigators, interviewing hundreds of eyewitnesses, I have seen no evidence that Bigfoot is related to UFOs. In fact, a random study of Bigfoot sightings years ago indicated that only about 3% of Bigfoot sightings describe any type of UFO connection. So why do people want Bigfoot to be connected to UFOs? It's because that's how we're built. Because all humans have a psychological thing called apophenia, where we want things to be connected. It's an unconscious desire for us to have meaningful connections. In a lot of ways, things like Bigfoot and ghosts and UFOs all kind of hit the same emotional nervous, right? It's that mystery in the world. So how cool is it if all those mysteries are now connected? So I think it's something that unconsciously, I think it's also a sociological thing, because the vast majority of people that tell me they think there's a Bigfoot UFO connection are people that were already previously interested in ghost hunting and the paranormal and UFOs, and then they discover Bigfoot and it's like they want to claim it. Oh, but I think there's a connection to what I do. So, you know what? I could be wrong. So if someone ever wants to show me a Bigfoot stepping out of a portal or a UFO, I guarantee you I will bow down before you and admit I was wrong. I will say there's a possibility on some levels that the government acknowledges Bigfoot exists. There are laws protecting Bigfoot in counties in Washington State, in Whitehall, New York, in Fouke, Arkansas. There are places in the US where it's illegal to shoot a Bigfoot, if you guys didn't know that. So I think that on some level, a subtle level, the government acknowledges that, okay, well, if they're out there, we don't want anyone to kill them. I do not advocate that Bigfoot are monstrous killers that are out to get us and make people vanish in national parks. I think they are very reticent and afraid of us, which is why we can't find them. If you pick up my book, The Essential Guide to Bigfoot, I'll explain that in more detail for you. They're as afraid of us as we are of them. It's a survival adaptation. It makes a lot of sense. Although that is a cool picture. That's the Ape Canyon incident, if you guys have ever heard of that. And I do not, for the same reason, I do not advocate something called habituation, which means that people are making friends with Bigfoot and feeding them and communicating with them. I get these claims a lot. I'm very respectful to people that claim they have Bigfoots on their property and they've been interacting with them, but none of those people through the years have ever provided me any conclusive evidence that that's happening. There's no photos, there's no droppings, there's nothing like that. It doesn't make sense from a survival standpoint. Why would, out of 8 billion people on Earth, why did Bigfoot pick you to be his best friend? Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I think I'm almost out of time here. So yeah, I do have a few copies of my books left. If anyone has any other questions, comments, stories, I would love to hear them. Please stop by my table and check it out. And thanks again, Troy, for having me. It's been a great time. Thank you all.